The truth is, Milli Vanilli were living a lie by pretending to sing when they did not.
Welcome to Watch Mojo. And today, we're looking at 10 far-fetched music conspiracies that turned out to be totally true.
There've been some rumors like we might go to San Diego to, disrupt the
We're getting blamed for the Chicago
Republican
convention now.
Michael Jackson wrote music for Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Michael Jackson was known for a lot of things, but providing music for the soundtrack to 1994's Sonic the Hedgehog 3 video game does not instantly spring to mind. There was speculation for years that MJ had composed some of the music for the game's soundtrack. However, it was only confirmed to be true in the years that followed. Supposedly, Jackson was totally on board to go public about his involvement, but later asked to be uncredited due to his dissatisfaction with the end results. Jackson had a long-standing relationship with Sega and even launched his own game, Michael Jackson's Moonwalker, in 1990. Keith Richards snorted his father's ashes. Keith Richards has done a hell of a lot of crazy things in his life, and we're certain we're only privy to a fraction of it.
The snorting of your father's ashes, which it is true.
But for years, one persistent rumor simply would not leave him alone. We all know that Richards had a very notable history with alcohol and substance use. As the story goes, Richards mixes his deceased father's ashes with his daily intake of certain powders and snorted it up his nose.
I could not resist. I just scooped him up there, took out a straw, see you, Dad. And I did a little line of him. Yeah, I did that.
Yes, you heard that right. Keith Richards was rumored to have snorted his own dad. As it turned out, this one was actually completely true. Richards confirmed as much on more than one occasion.
Others, more reasoned thought was ingesting your ancestors has been a very, very, very important thing throughout history. Many ancient cultures do that.
Prince's huge vault of music. If there's one thing that is constantly spoken about when Prince is remembered by his peers, it's his relentless work ethic.
The only thing I could think of is inspirational, and I think music that is from the heart falls right into that category. People who really feel what it is that they're doing.
He was a multi-instrumentalist, composer, producer, and the creative force behind several projects and bands during his career. And so, it only made sense that he needed somewhere to store the hours upon hours of unreleased material that didn't make it onto his 40 studio albums.
Is there a huge vault of material that you've created that we've never even heard? And how do you make those choices? Because I'd like to hear everything that you pen. Just to hear it.
You would look different when it was finished.
For years, there was rumors that Prince had a massive vault with thousands of songs stored safely away. And unfortunately, we never got full confirmation of that rumor until he sadly passed away. There are very few musicians in history who worked quite as hard as Prince.
We live in a singles-driven market, but I come from the old school of making albums, and that's what I'll always do.
Kiss put their own blood in a comic book. Kiss really do try their best to be as theatrical as possible. Everything from their signature costumes to their elaborate stage shows are designed to shock. And given their flair for the dramatic, there have been more than a few rumors that have followed them. No, Gene Simmons did not graft a cow's tongue onto his own to give it extra length.
A Brinks truck bringing a little white box in which were, you guessed it, 4 vials of real Kiss blood, which were summarily dumped into some printing ink for the old comic book. Isn't that wonderful?
But one thing that has been proven to be true over the years is a particularly hard-rocking rumor about their involvement in a Kiss-branded comic book with Marvel. Each member of the band actually added some of their own blood to the ink used in the printing process. Call it an ingenious marketing decision or just plain disgusting. But this one is definitely true.
Yes, I was really happy they didn't want anything for the yellow ink.
Ozzy Osbourne and the Bat. Ozzy Osbourne lived a wild life. From the 70s onwards, he went from a heavy metal trailblazer to a huge crossover success as a solo artist. Despite this, he also spent large portions of his career on various substances. On one famous night in 1982, he did something that would haunt him for generations. It's confirmed beyond any doubt these days.
You don't look like a madman.
Look in the shoe I am.
Ozzy was performing his show normally when someone threw what looked like a rubber bat on stage. Osbourne decided to bite into it and quickly realized his mistake. Thankfully, the bat was long dead, and a few precautionary rabies shots later, Ozzy was able to move on with his life.
I thought it was one of these toy bats. So I picked it up, bite the thing's head off, and suddenly everybody's freaking out because it's a real bat.
Alan Freed's Poliola scandal. Alan Freed's place in rock and roll history is a special one. In fact, he was the one who popularized the term rock and roll in the first place.
Cleveland radio DJ Alan Freed rockets to fame and movie stardom by playing rhythm and blues, traditionally African-American music. Freed popularizes a name for this new sound: rock and roll.
And during his stint as a radio DJ, he promoted the genre tirelessly. If Freed played your song, it was the type of stepping stone that any young artist would kill for. In the late 50s, rumors of Freed being involved in accepting payola began to surface.
Payola was a way of getting something that you wanted.
And what the record companies wanted was lots of airtime. To get it, they padded DJs' pockets with cash or other incentives.
In other words, Freed was accused of accepting bribes from record companies to play their artists' songs. In 1960, the practice was made illegal, and Freed eventually had to answer for his corruption. He eventually had to pay nearly $40,000 in unpaid taxes, mainly earned from payola sources.
Alan Freed's career was destroyed by the payola scandal, blacklisted by radio stations everywhere.
Frank Sinatra's ties to the mob. Frank Sinatra was the voice that defined an entire era.
The drinks on me, pardon me.
As a songwriter, if Sinatra turned his hand to one of your compositions, it was the ultimate honor. He was a star with a capital S, and if you believed the rumors, he had some pretty powerful friends. At the time, people suspected that Old Blue Eyes had ties to the Italian mafia.
FBI agents compiled more than 1,200 pages in their Sinatra dossier, from his 1940s friendship with Supreme mafioso Lucky Luciano to his 1960s secret partnership with Chicago mob boss Sam Giancana.
These rumors were rampant as early as the 1940s. Of course, Sinatra denied them, but the FBI was keeping tabs on him constantly. Of course, in recent years, Sinatra's friendship with the mob was confirmed by inside sources. He was by no means a member, but a favor exchanged here and there was pretty common between the singer and the mafia.
In addition to facts, the documents are full of unproven allegations, including one that he had ties to the Communist Party and another that he dodged the draft.
The Beach Boys worked with Charles Manson. Some of you might know about Charles Manson's obsession with the Beatles song Helter Skelter.
Charlie had this whole thing about Helter Skelter, which is a Beatles song, having something to do with a race confrontation, and that they had to do something heinous and they would lead the world, kind of thing.
But what you might not know is that he had ties to Beach Boys member Dennis Wilson during his failed attempt at becoming a folk singer. In fact, Manson and his followers actually stayed in his house for a period of time. They indulged Wilson's hedonistic side, while in turn using his music studio.
Manson desperately wanted to get into the rock and roll business.
He attached himself to the right people. This is a powerful family with a lot of connections. Manson knew how to get his hooks into these people.
And though Dennis himself refused to talk about that period in his life, the rumors persisted that the Beach Boys had actually recorded a Manson composition. And they had. B-side Never Learn Not to Love was based off Manson's own Cease to Exist, but he was never credited as a songwriter.
They didn't give him writing credits on that song. And, you know, somebody as megalomaniacal as Manson was, you can imagine how angry, to put it lightly, he might be.
Milli Vanilli's lip-syncing scheme. Milli Vanilli had it all. The right look, the songs, the dance moves. But there was one small problem. The world was actively being duped by the duo and its creator, Frank Farian. One hilarious lip-syncing mishap on live TV was enough to fuel conspiracy theories about just how legit these guys actually were.
I wanted to die. It stopped. Girl, you know it's girl, you know it's girl. 80,000 people. Girl, you know it's girl, you know. You know, I couldn't repeat it 15 times.
And unfortunately for them, when the house of cards fell, there was no way to put it back together. Not only did Milli Vanilli not write their songs, they didn't even sing on the album. Nope, Farian had orchestrated the whole thing, using studio musicians before installing the two frontmen to sell records. In the end, Milli Vanilli were disgraced and forced to give back their Grammy Award.
The pair now hope to continue recording as Rob and Fab, the German and the French.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
John Lennon was under government surveillance. As one of the premier counterculture figures of the 1960s and 70s, it was only natural that John Lennon was treated with some real worry by Richard Nixon's government.
They're after us because we talk about peace.
They didn't need anti-war songs like Give Peace a Chance on the airwaves when they had their own agendas to push. And after years of speculation about Lennon potentially getting followed by intelligence agencies, it was confirmed that the FBI started surveilling him in 1971.
The Nixon administration was worried Lennon would lead a huge demonstration to disrupt the Republican National Convention in Miami that year.
And there was even a push for him to get deported just 1 year after that. Nixon was supposedly worried about Lennon's ability to connect with young voters, perceiving him as a threat. And so, he was one of many celebrities who had the FBI's full attention during this period of time.
They're even sort of changing their own rules to get us, you know, just because we're peaceniks, really.
But did we miss out on any great music conspiracy theories? Let us know in the comments.
As I took the lid off the box, fine bits of my dad flew onto the table. You know, like powder, you know.